So if I'm being honest about why some creative businesses fail, I don't actually think it has anything to do with creativity. I think the reason a lot of creative businesses fail is because we go into it doing something that we love and turning it into a business. But unfortunately, running a business takes a ton of organization and behind the scenes work that isn't actually doing the creative thing that you love. And so getting good at the behind the scenes efficiency and effectiveness of running a business, I think, is the number one key to making your business succeed. So today I'm going to show you my favorite online tool, totally free, that helps keep us organized behind the scenes. I'm Janice with Big Dog Little Bed Productions, and this channel is full of content that will help you and your business grow using video. And while normally we talk mostly about video, today we're going to be talking about Trello. And I'm going to share my screen with you over here so I can actually show you my Trello boards. And what I'm going to do is take a look at 3 of my Trello boards that help keep us organized. And with each board, I'm going to show you a couple of the tools that they offer that we use regularly to keep organized. The tools that I'm showing you are not the only tools that you can use on Trello. Trello has so many options, and there are so many different ways to use their boards to stay organized. I'm just giving you a glimpse behind the curtain of Big Dog Little Bed and how I've found that it works really well to keep us organized. So the first board that we're gonna look at is my action plan, or a very fancy version of a to-do list. But I learned early on that while I love checking things off on a to-do list, I needed something larger to house all of the things that were in my brain. I needed to get them down, organized somewhere, or I found that I would stay up at night thinking about all the things I had to do. And so for me, Trello is that place where I empty my brain into a system that actually organizes and stores all of those ideas. The way that a Trello board is set up, what you're looking at here is a board. And then each of these is a list. And if you go to the end, you can always add another list. Once you have lists, if you want to rearrange them, you can literally pick them up and move them around. As a visual learner and someone who really likes to manipulate things, I love this. The way that I operate is starting from the right. Beyond that are all my personal things, which I also store in here, but let's start at just my business things. So over here, I have a general BDLB list, and this is just everything that needs to get done for our company. Next to that, I have Tyler, who is our editor, and I have his this week column and his today column. I let him kind of control that. So I put big bucket items on the this week column. If I have any notes, I can add them within that card here under the description or the activity. Same with him. He can tag me in them and I can reply. And then he can move them over to the today column when he's working on them. Then I have mine. I have my running list of things that need to get done. And then each week on Friday afternoon, I look at my running list and I move things from this list over to this week so that going into Monday, I have a really clear idea of what my big bucket items are for this week. Then every day when I come into the studio, the first thing I do is sit down with this week and move items over here to the today column. Now, often what I'll do, because I do still love a good old-fashioned to-do list, is I will take today's items and put them onto a note card that I clip onto the lamp so that I constantly can see that while I'm working, and then I can physically cross them off when I'm done. For those of you who are fine working virtually, I think it totally works to just archive a card when you're done with it. But for me, I like having that to-do list there as well. Now let's take a look at another board and how I use that one. And we'll go to our sales funnel. So a lot of people have CRMs that they use and it does everything. And I do have one. I use Dubsado. Honestly, I don't love it. And part of it is because the user interface is not nearly as visually pleasing or simple to use as this one is. So I end up using Dubsado just for my proposals and contracts to get them signed. And then I use this for tracking everything else about incoming clients and where we are in the phase of the project. So if you take a look at this board, you're gonna see more lists. And we're gonna start on the left for this one as I show you how we set up our lists for our sales funnel board. On the left, we have inquiries, and this is where each card is added as soon as we receive an inquiry, usually to our inbox, sometimes from a phone call. And I'm gonna start and add a new card here, and I'm gonna just write potential new client. And so this is where I write the title of the business or the potential client. Under description, I always write the date that the first email or phone call was received. And then I literally copy and paste the email from my inbox into the description of that card. If it's a phone call, I just take notes here while we're chatting on the phone. And then I go ahead and save that card. If you look from there, you're going to see lists for several of the big stages in the sales funnel process. Our sales funnel is not super intense. And so for us, this is pretty simple. It starts with inquiries. We then move them to a discovery meeting. And that's where we meet either in person or online to talk through their project and get a feel for whether or not we're a good fit for that project. When we have that discovery meeting, I put all of the notes from that meeting under activity. So again, I'll date that from whatever the day is that we have that meeting. And I take all notes from that discovery meeting so that I have a very clear picture in writing of what that client wants and everything that we've talked about in that meeting. And then I'm going to save. From there, if they book, I move them over to the booked column. Once we've completed their project, I move them to complete. And then I actually have 3 no columns. One of them is not now. If we hear back from a client after sending a proposal that they're not ready to move forward right now, I'm going to put them there. If they give us a hard no, I'm going to put them in the no column. And if it's a long time no response, I'm going to put them in the long time no response column. This one happens a lot. Sometimes people will get a proposal from multiple vendors and don't actually want to write back and say no. I totally get it, but I save them here. Why I find it really helpful to have 3 no columns and I never delete cards is that it's really important to me that years down the line, if I ever hear from that client again, I still have a record of the communication we had from the very beginning. This has happened to us before. We will write a proposal to a client, they go with a different company and then don't have a good experience with that company, and they come back to us and want to hire us for their next project. And so rather than forgetting that they existed or forgetting all the details that we talked about, all I do is move them from the long time no response back to the inquiry column, and then I can look at all of the notes that I'd taken in the past and remember the details of what we talked about. So I don't ever delete cards from our sales funnel. I always leave them on here. I just put them into one of those 3 columns. So if I open this card here, you're going to see the initial email I got on August 7th, 2019. And then if you scroll down, you're going to see notes from every phone call or meeting that we've had since. So then on August 15th, we had a follow-up phone call where I learned a little bit more context. And then on September 18th, we had our full kickoff meeting for the project. So all notes when I was meeting with the team, so all notes from that meeting are going to be located here. And so over time, as you can see, these cards can get really filled up. But what that means is that you have a really complete record of every interaction with that client. I use this in several ways. Anytime I go into a meeting with a client, I always pull up their Trello card on my phone before that meeting to make sure that I've refreshed my memory on what we talked about before, what I know about their company. Often we'll have 8 to 10 client projects going on at the same time. So for me to retain all of the information about every one of those companies is going to be impossible. When I have it all written down here, all I need to do is pull up that card to refresh my memory so that I'm walking into meetings with those clients fresh, remembering everything they've already told me, and then getting to build directly on from there. So the new feature I want to show you on the sales funnel board are these colored labels that you can visually see on the board right now. But let's go ahead and open up a card and then you can see what they actually mean. So on the right-hand side, you're going to see an option for labels. And on there, you get to decide what each color label means. Some of these are a little bit repetitive of the sales process. For example, booked. Once it's booked, I move it into that list. But the other ones give me a little bit more detail of where exactly they are in the process. The blue tells me that we've just been exchanging emails, and then once we actually have an appointment for a discovery meeting scheduled, I will change it to green. And that way, when I look here at the inquiry column, even though it's not in the discovery meeting column, I can actually tell that all 3 of these inquiries, we have exchanged emails because they have the blue, and I actually have appointments scheduled for all 3 of them. So I'm not going to move this card into discovery meeting until we actually have that meeting, but it does let me know that no more follow-up is required. I already have those meetings scheduled. Okay, let's take a look at our third board, which is our social media content. And so I will be transparent before sharing this board with you that social media is not my strong suit. We definitely use it. I love Instagram story. We post on Instagram regularly, but I'm not one of those people who sits down every month and like batch produces content and then has it carefully scheduled and automated so I don't have to do anything. I've tried doing that. It just doesn't work for me. So for me, what does work is creating a space where any ideas and possibilities for content lives. And then the decision is just what content do I want to share this week or today? Okay, so when you take a look at my social media board, again, you're going to see a whole bunch of lists. For this board, I have one list on the left that says this month. And this is where I move any content that I'm planning this month, and then I can rearrange it in the order that I actually want to do it. So the sooner ones I'll move to the top. All of the other lists are just general buckets or categories of social media content that we might share. Insta plans are short videos that we make, brainstorming video content that people could use in their marketing. The next one are client projects that are finished and ready to share. Things that inspire me. I tend to collect a lot of quotes here, client testimonials, educate, things that we're teaching people about video. So the first thing I did was create big buckets of content. And then the next thing that I did was start to brainstorm individual posts that could live within that. The new feature I want to show you here is the ability to attach pictures. So let's go ahead and look at a post that we actually just shared yesterday. In the title is where I shared like a general thought. I wanted to share a quote from a book I've been reading, Untamed by Glennon Doyle. In the description, I actually wrote out the entire caption. So I thought about it and I stored it here. And then down below, I attached the picture I want to use. And what this allows me to do is one, visually see which picture I want to use with that. But two, when it comes time to post, all I have to do is pull out my cell phone, open up my Trello app, and I can open that individual card and then save the photo or screenshot the photo from there and post directly in Instagram. So I know that there are scheduling apps that will do this for you. Again, this has never worked for me. So for me, just having access to it on my phone makes it a whole lot easier for me to plan content in advance and then decide every week or day which content I actually want to post onto my social media. So these are some ways that we use Trello. It's not for everyone. It is definitely for us. If you are just starting your business and looking for ways to stay organized, I would highly recommend it. And as always, if you found this content helpful, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you want more content like this, make sure that you're subscribed to our channel or following us over on Instagram or Facebook. And if you have ideas for future content, please drop them below in the comments.